what anxiety really feels like. It brought with it a deep cultural shock that I've had 3 major phobias since I was a kid. One day I woke up and I couldn't eat. It was actually depression and anxiety. Depression for me is like somebody who cannot see light. And halfway there, I froze. I could not breathe. So my family doctor diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder. I started medication, anti-anxiety meds, and it's okay to not be okay. I do want to definitely help myself get better and live a normal lifestyle. Hi guys! So today I want to talk about anxiety, and I've been wanting to make this video for a very long time. It can sometimes be very hard to talk about things that people don't fully understand. In my case, most people don't understand what I'm going through. They do try to understand, and I appreciate that, but they won't truly get it until I fully explain what anxiety really feels like. Like a lot of times I could be smiling from the outside and there could be a battle going inside of me. Like over the past few years, some people around me have learned to notice when I'm anxious. Maybe I'll suddenly go quiet in a conversation, or I'll seem distant, or I'll have I'll be zoned out and have blank eyes. I'm a very talkative and social person, so when that kind of shift happens, it really stands out. And when I zone off and my eyes go blank, people who really know me can understand that I'm going through something. I've been lucky to have people in my life who have understood me, learned to be with me and accept me with my anxiety self. Today I just want to talk about my journey with anxiety, the real unfiltered journey living through anxiety. So I'd like to talk about how it all started. Firstly, I want to talk about my background. I grew up in Japan, where people were really polite, respectful, and mostly kept to themselves. And there wasn't much judgment or interference in other people's lives. Then, as a teenager, my family moved to a small town in Pakistan. My parents are of Pakistani and Afghan ethnicity. So that shift was very intense for me. It brought with it a deep cultural shock that I went through as a teenager. And before I dive deeper into the anxiety part, I do want to go back and talk about a backstory. So when I was growing up, even as a child, I do want to mention that I've had 3 major phobias since I was a kid. So I've had claustrophobia, fear of the dark, and fear of water. I don't really know where these fears came from, but they've always been a part of me since I was a young kid. So when I was in Pakistan, the constant judgment, gossip, hypocrisy, and lack of privacy made everything harder. Even casual questions about my grades from strangers felt invasive and overwhelming. I remember I was in my first semester of 9th grade, and a random auntie in my family just asked me, "What's your grade?" And I was really surprised. I was like, okay, there's no sense of privacy or something. I don't even know you. Why are you asking my grade? I mean, my parents can ask my grades. Maybe somebody close to me can ask my grades. My teachers would know it. But who are you? That was a culture shock for me. So, and then talking about, let's talk about my dark phobia. So in Japan, we didn't have this problem, but in Pakistan, the electricity outages were frequent and sometimes they would last hours. And for someone with the fear of dark, that was very terrifying. So usually people did have backups like generators or other sort of, electricity backups. But if in any case, it would go dark even for a few seconds or maybe a few minutes, I would start screaming because I wanted to get out. So it's kind of related with my claustrophobia as well. So, people would have to calm me like, "Hey, I'm with you." My dad would be like, I'm here. But it's like, I don't need you, Dad. Right now, I just need to see. I'm scared of the dark right now. So yeah, that was a huge change. And then after a while, I went through some physical symptoms because of phobias, because of the cultural shock of being a woman and a young girl in Pakistan, from Japan to living in a small town in Pakistan. It's a huge shift. One day I woke up and I couldn't eat. I tried to force down food thinking it was a stomach issue, and I remember I'd have like honey on bread, and I tried to eat that and swallow it down with water because I was not able to swallow, and I thought this was a stomach issue. So I went to a lot of doctors, and eventually one of the stomach doctors actually figured out that I was going through depression. I didn't know what depression was at that time. I didn't know that depression would feel like this. It was actually depression and anxiety and panic attacks that I was going through. And I was 15 at the time when a doctor finally explained that this is what was happening. So I was like suffering all throughout the last 1 or 2 years with this kind of physiological changes in my body as well as mental changes, which I didn't know that I was going through. At that time, I didn't really take medications, and instead I tried to counsel myself with positivity and gratitude. And with time, what happened was that I kind of started to accept Pakistan, and I got used to it. Over the years, I began to find joy in little things in life, be it a sunny day, a good meal, or laughter with friends. Basically kind of like familiarity with the surroundings and getting used to my new home, I guess. That would be the right word. I still went through anxiety or panic attacks like racing heart or like sweating. My hands and feet would be sweating. I would shake sometimes, but I lived through them, sometimes for hours, 2 to 3 hours, and then came out the other side. So eventually I started opening up to people, and with time, because I became happy, I was able to self-counsel myself and get out of it. I would say this part of me, the mental illness part of me, kind of like was pushed in the corner in a subconscious part of my mind, but it wasn't like gone away. I did think it went away, but it didn't. And so after my teen years, I moved to Canada, and it finally felt like I was at home or I belonged here. So I really liked Canada. By that time, I had moved past depression, and I don't even want to use the word because depression for me is like somebody who cannot see light, who cannot see happiness in anything, and that's not me. I'd rather use the word sad or bored for if I'm feeling sad at a moment, or if I'm feeling bored or something. So I feel like depression is really deep, and it really should be used for people who actually see no light in life, no little joy. That's not true. I am a very happy person, and I was at that time as well. And I kind of had developed a sense of peace with who I was by that time. However, anxiety never really left me. It stayed quietly in the background, like I said, somewhere in the corner of my subconscious mind. So I'd like to talk about the first incident that triggered my anxiety issues. So one day I was walking with my brother to college, and we went to the same college, and it was like a 15 minutes walk. It was winter time. So going back, I hated winters even of Pakistan, even though they were not harsh. But winter just made me like sad. It makes everyone sad. Not everyone, well, most people sad. But anyway, so it was snowing, and it was minus 20 degrees outside. And by that time, I was like, I'm super cool with, snow. I'm good. And we could have taken the car, but we didn't. We just walked. And it was a 15 minutes walk. And I was walking, and halfway there, I froze. I could not breathe. And at that point, the claustrophobia kind of kicked in. I felt trapped in my body, and I started panicking like so bad. Like I think I could not breathe. My heartbeat felt faster, and I was like, I'm stuck here, and what do? We were stuck in the middle, so kind of like we were halfway through. I said to my brother, let's go back home. But like back home was also like a 7-minute walk, and a 7 or 8 minute walk, and going to college was also a 7 and 8 minute walk. And I was frozen. I was like, I can't walk any further. And my brother kind of realized what I was going through, and I think it was really cold for me. And while I was properly layered and everything, my face, I was breathing cold air, and that really like kind of affects somebody who has anxiety. So my brother helped me cover my face. He gave me his scarf and he's like, okay, just breathe into this. So I had his scarf on my face, covering my nose and my mouth, and I started breathing warm air in it. And somehow I was just not thinking anything, and we kept walking to college. But it was the longest 7 to 8 minutes of my life. However, as soon as I stepped into the college building, it was gone. I was still cold, but it was gone. That was my first full-blown panic attack. So again, I do want to point out one thing, that it wasn't necessarily the cold that was making me anxious or I couldn't breathe. It was the feeling of being stuck in cold and not being able to get out. Because at one point when we were stuck, I was even like thinking, let's go knock on somebody's door and ask them, can you please like let us stay inside for a few minutes so that we can warm up and then walk the rest of the 7 or 8 minutes. But anyhow, as soon as I saw the college building coming, I could feel myself, I could feel the anxiety going away. So it was the sense of being stuck outside rather than just the cold part. And after that incident, things were normal. Like, I went on with my life, but there were little changes that I noticed throughout the next couple of years. But from that moment, my life completely changed. Eventually, I started avoiding crowded places. I would start getting anxious in crowded places, whether it was concerts or some kind of festival or events. I felt claustrophobic and anxious in department stores and malls because I felt like I couldn't get out. And I also developed agoraphobia. So when I realized that my anxiety started to affect my everyday routine life, whether it was not being able to go to malls or going to stores or going alone and having agoraphobia, or whether it was like fear of crowds, I felt like it was starting to affect my everyday life. And at that point, I went to see my family doctor, and I felt like now I needed medical help. So my family doctor diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder and referred me to a psychiatrist. I started medication, anti-anxiety meds, and one was also for depression because it worked well with the anxiety medications and kept my anxiety in control. And in addition to that, it helped me sleep because I also had insomnia at that time. So the medications together really made a huge difference. I really didn't think that medications would work. I was like, what kind of medication would help me stop the panic attack? Like, they don't know what's going inside my head. The medication does not know what I'm scared of. But I was amazed that it worked. And I remember the first time I took the medications, I felt relief within 15 to 30 minutes. And I do want to say that medications are not a cure. They're temporary. Over time, my dose did increase. So I did have to ask my doctor to sometimes increase it a little bit, and we tried to taper off eventually to come back to the usual dosage. I have tried to taper off from the usual dosage as well, but I haven't been able to do that yet. I do want to say that looking back, I wish I knew earlier that lifestyle, therapy, and exercise could help, and maybe I wouldn't have needed medications. But I'm also grateful that they do exist because they saved me when I was drowning. So where am I today in April 2025? At this point, anxiety is part of my life. I don't hide it. If it comes up naturally in conversation, I do want to talk about it. I do want to educate people. I do want to make them aware, even if they are judging. It doesn't really matter. There was a time I told a professor that I couldn't wear a face shield during COVID because I'm claustrophobic and have anxiety. She was kind and surprised as well, because she said I seemed so confident and so happy in classes. But that's the thing, people don't know what anxiety is. There are different kinds of anxiety. I don't have social anxiety. Most people from the outside would see me happy and would never guess what's happening inside me. And another really sweet thing is that sometimes when I describe anxiety to others, they realize that they might be going through the same thing. I've made deep connections from just sharing about anxiety with other people, and because I'm able to self-reflect, because I've been through this since childhood, I am able to talk about it a little more openly and a little more descriptively than other people, because I'm able to describe what I'm feeling, and I'm also able to intellectualize what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling that. And sometimes I'm able to talk to other people who are going through the same thing about this, and oftentimes I find people empathizing or people feeling grateful that I'm able to explain to them what they're going through actually, and they feel really happy that they know somebody like me who could connect with them about this issue. I think that anxiety has helped me grow emotionally. It's made me more empathetic, more understanding of others. But at the same time, I feel like not everyone gets it. My parents, for example, think I'm just scared. They just think I'm scared of the dark, scared of elevators, or just scared of anything. Yeah. Sometimes, because of the social stigma of anxiety, because people might think you're crazy or pagal, my parents have told me not to talk about anxiety because people might think you're gaga, cuckoo. So that's the stigma that comes with anxiety, but I don't really care. I do want to talk about it. And that comes with the fact that people don't understand that mental illnesses are just as real as physical illnesses, and sometimes more. I feel like with physical illness, you can see what's wrong. And with mental illnesses, even I don't always know what's triggering me. I don't know what's inside my head. So how can a doctor help me what's going on inside my head, right? Again, my phobias go way back. No one knows where they came from, not even my mother. Usually phobias come from a traumatic childhood or something you've been through, something harsh you've been through in childhood. And I have asked my mother a few times, did something happen in my childhood, and she doesn't really remember anything traumatic happening in my childhood. While she doesn't really understand anxiety, she does understand mental issues. Having said that, my family has been supportive overall. I still get panic attacks, I still take medications, but I understand myself better now. One thing that my psychiatrist always reminds me is a healthier lifestyle helps. That I need to exercise, better food, better diet. I haven't really stuck to that, so I admit there is a little bit of fault from my part as well, because we do want to kind of grab to whatever that does help. And I do know the importance, and it does matter, because exercise increases circulations, releases endorphins, and helps distract from anxious thoughts. So here I am, still managing it, still learning. I haven't reached the point where I can stop taking medication. I do hope I get there one day, but I think I am getting closer. And if you're watching this and going through something similar, just know that you're not alone. This was my journey that I'm discussing. I'm living through it every day. I'm fighting it every day. And I really wanted to share and connect with people who are going through something similar. It's okay to not be okay. This is me showing up as I am. And if you're doing the same, I see you. And that doesn't mean that I don't want to get rid of anxiety or phobias or panic disorders. But sometimes you have to come to terms with who you are. You cannot be criticizing yourself all the time, because sometimes it is what it is. While I do want to definitely help myself get better, taper off medications, and live kind of like a healthy lifestyle and a normal lifestyle, at the same time, I have to at one point accept my condition, because otherwise I won't be able to move through with life. Let me know in the comments if you relate. I will definitely read them. And if you want more real, soft, imperfect moments, hit that subscribe.